And we're live.
God help us. Hi.
Hi there. Welcome to Left Unsupervised. I am Nikki Jobin, and this is my business partner.
I'm Diana Rachel, and we are here to do Left Unsupervised, which is Misbehaving, which is largely talking about things that, polite witches don't talk about. Yes, there are polite witches, and they make us sad.
Nobody I know.
Definitely sure as shit, not me.
Hey, I'm trying to share this and it won't let me.
So we are trying to get a little bit better about giving people the things to watch our show and, be our personal peanut gallery. And, you can't heckle us if you can't find us. So we are trying to add to the heckling. Okay, and here I found it. And here we are.
This is
And
what happens when you do stuff with no technical ability at all. That is me.
Yep.
No
Okay.
technical ability.
Okay, and let's see here. Okay.
Hey, Jennifer's watching with us today. Hi, Jennifer.
Come on, say hi. I almost made her butt famous. Hi.
You made
So
her butt famous?
I
How did
almost
I
made her
miss
butt
that?
famous. Oh, that was today. I didn't have enough coffee and I'm trying to do an overhaul. So for context, for people that don't know me yet, I am the author of Urban Magic, a Guide for the City Witch. And what that means as an author is that I need to be a bit more of a social media whore because not enough people are buying my books. And so I was working on a web-only website platform and trying to upload a photo. And I accidentally uploaded the photo next to it, which was from a photo shoot last year where Jennifer and I went to a graveyard in Santa Rosa. And she was doing a yoga routine, and I was taking pictures of her. And one of them that I caught was in cat cow with her butt very much up in the air.
Nice.
Yes, it would have definitely gotten her some fans. But since I'm trying to get me some fans, and I don't usually do that with my butt except on my FetLife, I'd rather not really go there, especially with someone who didn't consent to it.
What fit lifetime? I like it. I like it.
Well, I did get banned from Tinder, so I must have accomplished something in my life.
How do you get banned from Tinder? That's all I want to know. Like, I mean,
Either all
okay,
I can
no,
think.
I understand how someone gets banned from Tinder, but how do you
They
get
won't tell
banned from
me.
Tinder?
They won't tell me. All I can figure is I told enough guys off for being, crass jackasses that they started complaining, like Craigslist style, where like if enough people complain, they just get you banned.
Nice.
Like all I can figure is either that, the wall of shame that I was keeping on a certain platform, where like the most egregious, crass, abusive stuff I would just start posting. And
Mhm.
Kalamazoo is a small enough area that some of those guys probably saw themselves and saw what my friends had to say about, their quality of humanity.
Nice. Wow.
So I
Uh,
probably made somebody's pee sad.
oh yes. I just want to say tonight is a whiskey and Red Bull night, and
And
cheers.
tonight is Sambuca night because I need a glass of happy.
Okay, we're making peepees sad, and I can't believe you said peepee. It's a
Well,
pain.
they're not mature enough for the full word.
Oh, okay. Is that because I'm like, if you're old enough to play with it, you're old enough to name it. I mean, I'm just
Yeah, and some of these idiots name it Fido.
at least it's not like Captain Jack or something.
That would be just a little too optimistic.
I would just
Let's
be like, can you put a little
be real.
guideliner
Be
on it?
real. We know that Ianto was totally the top there. Come on.
Nice. Okay. Um. All right. Enough talking about our dating lives or lack thereof. Um. You know. We have a topic tonight.
We actually do, and we even put notes so we'd stay on topic. Good luck with that, but we try. We're just
Yeah, we're not going to stay on topic. I
oh,
gotta call that
oh
one for what it is.
okay, fair.
But tonight we are talking about a sad thing in the community, and that is spiritual fraud. So that means there are practitioners out there that unfortunately are not ethical. I had a very good friend that I was talking to in the past week that had an issue. They went to a practitioner, and that practitioner unfortunately bilked them out of quite a bit of money. I feel awful for this person, and they unfortunately will not give me the name of the practitioner, though I promised that I would only put karma out there. Um, I just feel really bad because it's the classic story of, I can help you with your problem. And oh, yes, I see that there's a lot of problems here, and maybe making the problem to be bigger than it is. And it's going to cost this much money. And oh, wait, it's just a little bit more. There's this thing that's come up and it's added a little bit more. And before you know it, you're into quite a bit of money. Like,
Mhm.
I'm going to buy a small car money.
So sometimes it kind of follows the Scientology theme, where it's you get cleared and you pay for this thing and it makes sense. And then it just keeps escalating until it just makes no sense, but you're so far in that you're not even thinking about it.
Yeah, this friend actually, that there was a point that they said to the practitioner, like, I can't do this anymore. But there was so much manipulation in there, and beyond the, I'm going to give you, a little bit of the carrot, and you still don't see the stick.
Mm-hmm.
But there was just, I mean, total manipulation in there. At one point, the practitioner contacted my friend and was like, "Hey, I have something to ask you, or I need to ask you for something." And my friend was like, "Oh, more money?" And then this particular practitioner was like, "Oh, I can't believe you said that to me. Like, I'm very offended. I can't work with you anymore." And
Mm-hmm.
so, of course, my friend being in this very desperate feeling situation, um, was contacting them like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. Like, I really would like you to work with me. And of course, what did they end up asking for? More money.
And making them guilt tripping them for it, so they're falling over themselves, which
Yeah.
is part of the manipulation. And it gets tricky for practitioners like me because sometimes the stuff I do is genuinely high risk.
Mm-hmm.
One, I do my best to be as upfront as I can about costs. There is a baseline fee that people know before they go in. And if stuff comes up like spellcasting incidentals, this kind of thing, I'm working at getting a pricing sheet set out, but I try to keep it well within the frame of what is reasonable. Like
Mm-hmm.
if I set a candle for someone, it's usually about $10 per candle if I'm putting the oils in and doing the prayers over it. But I usually do it in front of the client so they can start doing it themselves.
Well, I
You know,
wasn't exactly sure of what the price range would
yeah,
would be, because the practitioner that they used was in a form of magic that I don't personally do, so I don't know what the cost would be. It just definitely, it was in the thousands of dollars.
which is almost definitely,
Yeah,
yeah,
for each instance, for each circumstance, which
yeah,
for me, I'm like, that would have been my red flag. Um,
yeah.
but I've seen years ago when I worked in retail, one of my employees was out on their lunch and came back and didn't have any food, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? I thought you were going to go get lunch. And this person was like, hey, I was, but then there was this fortune teller that was in the mall and came up to me and said that they felt very compelled to talk to me and wanted to give me a reading, like half off of their normal price. But I told them I only had $5, and they were like, that'll do. And then, of course, it was the old story of, I see a dark cloud around you. Like, if you pay me $50 for this candle, I can help you. And of course, what happens? The candle never works, and it's obviously a worse cloud than they thought. And then it's a $200 candle, and then a $500 candle, and then, a $750 or exorcism. I almost said
Mhm.
orgasm. Jeez Louise, that might be the going price. I don't know. I don't.
It's $3.50 an hour for a professional that helps with that. So yeah,
So, but it builds and builds and builds and builds, and of course, you become emotionally invested in this.
yeah.
I told my employee, I was like, honey, first of all, there's not a black cloud around you. If there were a black cloud around you, I would make you a candle and I would just give it to you.
Hmm.
Um, and we all know that I see somebody in need, and
And
I
I'm
am the
with
help,
you.
help, help, which is why we're business partners, because you're like, hey, that's dangerous stuff you're doing.
Yeah, there are boundaries that are necessary, and money is one of the things that does put down a reasonable boundary on both sides when it's done appropriately.
Yeah. I think that this was obviously way off the mark, but it just really got me thinking. And I told you about it, and it just really got me thinking about how, especially in this economy and everything we're going through in the country,
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get it. We're all struggling, but really
Yeah.
preying on people's emotional distress to make way more than a buck.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah. Especially since how many people are out of work right now?
Yeah.
You know, how many people are on unemployment or couldn't even get unemployment?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just rotten behavior.
Yeah.
Like
It
I've
is.
I've rolled back my pricing more than 40% just to make sure people can actually reach me.
Yeah. And it's just, and you know me, what were we talking about? I think it was a couple of years back. We were talking about somebody that was listed as a sin eater. And for those of you that don't know what a sin eater is, traditionally it was someone in European villages that was a part of the village community, but they literally sat with your dead, had a meal with them, and ate their sins.
Mm-hmm.
So there was someone, and I don't remember the name or any really of the specifics, but they were a sin eater and they charged $300 an hour. And I'm a skeptic. You would think that I wouldn't be with all the crap we've seen, but I'm still a skeptic. And I'm like, how do you know it worked? I'm shelling out $300. Like, my relative better be coming up to me going, "Hey, I'm at the gate, bud." You know, I don't like. I find it very hard to equate those things. Like, how
Yeah.
do you know it's real? And I guess it's a matter of faith. But for
Mm-hmm.
me, I'm just like, I'm kind of results driven, and that's one of those things that you can't quantify.
Well, and it also, looking at it, seemed like it was a very specific cultural thing, like for them, and because it wasn't Welsh culture, I want to say it was something Mediterranean or Middle Eastern.
Actually, it was in the English countryside.
It was okay.
It was.
No, I mean that one that we saw on Yelp.
Oh, that particular. Gosh, I don't remember. I know you
Yeah,
told me about it, and then I had to look it up, and I was like, "Holy crap! I can't believe this person is actually doing this."
yeah. Like they wouldn't be there if there weren't people in the city that wanted that. But
Yeah, totally.
you and I didn't really feel like talking to this person. And if this guy was a fraud, if this guy was legit, it would be fine. But if he wasn't, that's just like opening a can of worms for us.
Well, legit or not, I can't speak to the validity of this person's
Yeah,
skill set, but just for me, just looking at it and reading it as a person, how do you say, I'm going to give this person $300 an hour, and I feel okay with that without being able to see the results? Like, when I do work on people, they feel a result.
yeah. Well, wasn't this the guy who actually eats the meal off of the corpse? Because that in itself might be worth $300 to someone. Like if that is what your family custom demands.
Honey, I grew up in the projects. We've eaten food off of a lot worse than corpses.
Right, but some people still kind of object to that. And, that in itself comes with hazard pay.
Yeah,
So it's
eating off a dead
look
body
at
is
it from
not
all
enough.
possible angles because sometimes it is about what you value. But, one of the things that you learn to look for is, and I felt like, again, I'm kind of low in energy. I'm doing too many things at once like I usually do. But there are things to look for, like preying on your fear.
Mhm.
There's a black cloud around you, you might be cursed, blah, blah, blah. Well, usually I'm cursed. It's no reason to get upset. So,
Doesn't
uh,
mean it's the end of the world.
yeah. And if the world ends, I might finally catch up in my sleep.
Yeah.
It's a win-win to me.
Yeah.
Um,
My biggest thing for people is go with your gut. If you feel like there's a red flag, that's your intuition telling you something.
yeah. The other one is, yeah, be a little skeptical. Like, oh, who was it that did the John Edwards, where it was basically a mentalist trick where he'd just start like making consonant noises and then seeing who reacted.
Oh,
Because like, oh, is there a J here? Is there a J? Is there a K? Is there a K? Like I actually saw him move like through half the alphabet before he got a hit one time.
wow.
And like he was wrong about half the stuff, but the person, this is the thing, is they get you so invested that your instincts no longer apply
Hmm.
because you're emotionally so invested in having that thing, having that experience, that you play along with it even though you're kind of getting it ripped off.
Yeah. And I'm absolutely not, we are absolutely not talking about the people that are like, hey, your Aunt Bertha says you better stop drinking out of her favorite damn cup. Put the wine glass back. I mean, somebody pops up something specific to you like that, I will
That's legit.
bow down. That's totally like, I am
Yeah,
not debating the validity of that.
yeah, yeah. And people aren't going to do that by cold reads.
Yeah.
They aren't going to do that by reading your body language. And this is something that I'm very upfront about is part of my degree is in nonverbal communication. I actually have to work pretty hard to cut out what I know about nonverbals.
Mhm.
And I will sometimes, if a client is really hostile and I can see it, I just won't read for them. Or I will hand them the deck and say, okay, you tell me what's going on.
Mhm.
But the times they're, this is the thing, is a good psychic is not going to pretend to be omniscient. We aren't.
Yeah.
We don't know everything. We know what you let us tune into. We know what to tell you from what we see in the cards or what we see in our psychic vision based on what energies you are willing to open up to us. And we're not going to ask any leading questions. I usually start with, what's going on in your life that you felt the need to talk to me. Mm-hmm. Just is open-ended. You are in control of the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely the difference between that and someone saying, I don't know, there's an older woman that's by you, that's all, that's always watching over you. And, maybe your grandmother just died and you're like, oh my God, that's my grandma, because we're making the assumption that that's who that person is.
Or it's the face little souled woman who lives in your home if you listen to Welcome to Night Vale.
I got nothing there.
Sometimes I can out-nerd you, but...
You can almost always out-nerd me, because I am not as well-read, unfortunately.
Oh, no, this is a podcast, but yeah.
Oh, well.
I like it deeply fucked up.
Right, I'm going to put that one on my, I'm going to put that on my little world there. I don't know. I lost it. My word. I haven't had enough whiskey, so my brain is not functioning yet. But I do want to say hi to Brent and to Keisha, two of my friends that are watching tonight.
Hi, welcome. It looks like I can't see the comments to see who's on. So
for whatever reason, they're watching on my page. So for whatever reason, my page, I have to find a way to fix it because it won't let me do it as public, so the comments won't show. So I'm looking at it on my phone.
Got it. Okay.
Which is frustrating as heck.
But hi, thank you for watching. So one of the weird things, so I've heard different stories, and I've actually seen reviews on Yelp when I was looking for my own Yelp listing. Mm-hmm. And it, the fake fortune tellers have become such a problem in San Francisco that, oh, hey, I am seeing stuff from Jennifer. So, hi, Jennifer.
Yeah, I just figured out how to make it public.
Yes, and her laughing at me talking about her butt. So, and it's a firefighter butt. So, yeah. So, okay, so we just have an entire segue about Jennifer's butt because it's not kind of nice. She went to New Orleans without me. I get to talk about her butt. Okay, I will behave as well as I'm capable of behaving.
I don't know how behaved we're going to be.
Yeah.
So I'm looking through our notes to see.
Okay. Well, while you were looking for the notes that I wrote and put somewhere, one of the things that San Francisco had to do, because they had people doing the thing that Nikki described, where they'll walk into somebody who's minding their own business at the gas station and, I need to give you a reading, blah, blah, blah. Well, any legit psychic is going to wait for you to come to them. Mm-hmm. And I will say that the storefront psychics, it depends. I usually feel like it's a better idea to go to Sword in the Rose or Scarlet Sage or an established metaphysical shop, because there's ethical oversights that happen in those stores because they're selling people personal empowerment products as well, as opposed to the storefront psychic where their entire job is to get repeat business one way or the other. Because renting that storefront ain't cheap, and unless they happen to be a money laundering operation, which a few of them are, they have to do something to get repeat business in the door to keep that place open. And they will sometimes resort to unethical stuff for things like, okay, I've cleaned your chakras, but now you need to come back once a week to clean them again. Yeah. As opposed to people that work out of these bookstores where, okay, clean your chakras, now here's how you do it yourself. Mm-hmm. And here's some books on it so you can continue to learn how to do it yourself. And, yes, they want you to come back and give them that support, but they want you to do it from a place of continuing to work on yourself. Yeah. And the problem in San Francisco got so out of hand. There was a spiritual fraud going on in Chinatown where someone was constantly telling people that their jewelry and their money and their inheritance money was cursed.
Wow.
And that they had to go and bring all of it to them, and then they would take care of it. And of course, then they'd never get the uncursed money back. Like, people were told to drain their bank accounts. And this has become such a problem that San Francisco's way of handling this, and I realized that I understand the theory, but it is so the wrong way to handle it, is anyone who does fortune telling in San Francisco is required to have a license, get fingerprinted, and pay like a $250 fee each year, which for small scale fortune tellers is actually kind of prohibitive. And my objection to it is getting fingerprinted. Like, you know, my objection to it is getting fingerprinted. It's just I understand why, is they're trying to track people with a record for fraud or con art or con stuff, but they're not going to do it anyway. You know, they're professional con artists. Having records of themselves is a bad idea. Mm. Meanwhile, I get fingerprinted, and then it basically comes up on different reports that I've been fingerprinted, and then it is assumed I've committed fraud when I was trying to abide by the law. So it's a no-win. You know, San Francisco won't just shut it down, but they sure as hell won't do something supportive. And so every so often, a next door, they'll get this is the fraud that's going around. This is the scam that's going around.
Yeah, I gotta say though, I feel like most of the scams going around are like PG&E scams.
Like what scams?
PG&E.
Oh,
like they call you and say that they're your utility company and you owe money and you're going to get shut off. So of course you call the number back, and then you tell them, and then they're like, "Oh, what's your account number? Well, I need to confirm your identity. You know, can you
yeah,
your social for me?" They used to call the bar like that all the time, and I was like, "Oh, you need to call the business office. That phone number is in our file. Thanks so much. Goodbye."
Yep. Yeah, I never got those, but I feel like PG&E is kind of a scam.
Go solar. It's better for you and better for the environment.
I'm trying to. My partner will not get along with it. Apparently, Michigan doesn't get enough sun year round.
Solar works whether it's cloudy or sunny.
Yeah, I've tried that. It's not working. So
pay the man, that's fine. But I got to tell you, I've Noelle works for a solar group now, for a solar company.
Yeah.
And she's actually seen the differences. Like, she's broken down the differences for me, and it's quite a bit of money.
When I was I know this. When I was about 10 or 11, I got super I got super environmentally aware way before it was the thing to do. I somehow persuaded my parents to get early solar paneling on their house in Northwest Indiana, and it ended up like at the first year it was still a little bit to pay off, but I guess after that their heating bills were just like nothing.
Wow.
Just tiny after the first year. You know, it is also the weak roof might be crushed. I'm living in a trailer at the moment. So there may be some structural issues, and there's other things that need to be done first, but yeah. So it would be awesome.
What I'm saying is, my kid's school has solar panels on the lawn. I mean, I know you guys don't have a big lawn, but you have an area that you could put it in.
Well, and even though the Bay is the Bay, San Francisco's, like California's main resource is sunlight. Like, it is highly underused. So yeah, it makes a difference. So this is our first, wandering off topic.
It really is.
This is how we do here. But yeah, this is one of those that was one of the concerns. Like, I was listed as a psychic life coach, and the life coaching meant usually, because it wasn't called fortune telling, and what I do with my tarot cards isn't really fortune telling. Like, I'm not telling people what's going to happen in their futures. I'm just telling them like what's going on in their presence, or what's most likely to go on based on the choices they've already made. And usually there's some kind of, okay, here's the goal, here's what you want, here's why you're not getting to what you want, let's figure out how to get you to it, which is completely different from fortune telling.
Yeah, and you give homework.
Yeah, I do. Many people walk away looking a little, what just happened? Why do I have homework? This was
I've gotten
fun.
a lot of homework.
But
I've gotten so much homework.
Yeah, and it's usually turned out to be helpful.
Yeah.
So,
but I think the difference is that you definitely, you are about an end game and about a goal. And that
Yeah.
goal is so that they don't have to come back. Yeah, you have people that like to come back to you on a regular basis, but that's just their preference.
Yeah.
I know that you've done with me. Like if I were a client for you, I would have been done 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Because we have an end game. Like honestly, if I'm helping somebody, I don't want them to come back. Like I want to fix their problem.
Right.
Because if I can't fix their problem, then I'm either not doing something right or I'm not the right practitioner for them, and they need to know that.
Yeah. And I am very much about one session resolution as much as I can, but especially now with that at the level of work that I'm at, I'm getting into ones where it's just there's several different problems. And so my thing is, okay, let's resolve this as much as we can before we move on to the next one. I had one today where I got approached about doing some hand parting work. And so for people that aren't familiar with me, the first book that I published was titled Divorcing a Real Witch. And I do have a background in cord cutting and divorce rituals. And this person just recently ended a marriage, and it's one of those where, okay, I could take the work right now. Everything's tight. I could take that, but it is Mercury retrograde. It is Mars retrograde. There is a chance that it's just a communication problem and not a marital breakdown. And so, they need to be given, these people all need to be given time. So rather than rushing right into that work just to make sure I have it, I'm like, okay, contact me, mid-November after Mercury retrograde is cleared up completely. And we will do a divination and see if that's what needs to be done, or figure out what needs to be done so we only have to do it once.
Yeah. Measure twice, cut once.
Yes, exactly. And divination is all about the measuring within reason.
Yeah. And you know me, I give away more work than
Yeah. Yeah, you do. You do. There's sometimes intervention has been necessary. So
well, yeah, that too. But I was talking about, oh gosh, Diana's much better suited for actually dealing with this problem. Or, or maybe I can hand this off to Jennifer because it seems like more of a Reiki thing.
Well,
Just
and that's
something
that's a good practice. Yeah. The referral thing is a good practice. So like when I was working with Christine Rossi, a lot of people wanted to do like heavy duty medium work or angel work. And I can do medium work, but I have to have special preparation. This is what she does. So I'd be like, okay, call her, or if there's a client that, I can't, one of the most hilarious calls that I will occasionally get is someone will call me and want a reading, and I will have 15 minutes until my next reading. And more than once this has been said to me, and I find it hilarious. And so, oh, you are getting nowhere with me, is I don't handle appointments well. And it is so you don't handle planning ahead, and you want me to drop everything for you and completely disrespect the customer who respected my time. Yeah, guess what's not happening? Also, how in the hell do you get to the doctor if you don't handle appointments well?
I was going to say, how do you,
Yeah.
I don't know a doctor that's like, oh, you just popped in, sure, come on back.
Mm-hmm. And no, I'm not a medical professional, but it's just important to respect everyone's time. Because, when you're asking me to drop things, it's not just my time you're messing with. It's my client's time. It's my family's time. It's, it's Nikki's time, which, by God, she'll tell you. So
I will tell you, because,
yeah,
if some weeks I feel like, well, but, before COVID, when I was balancing this with working at the bar, I'm like, I'm just going to give up sleep altogether. This isn't a friend.
Yeah, no. Well, I just wasn't sleeping for years, so I did occasionally give up coherence.
Some days that was funny.
Yeah, no, it's like having a stroke without having a stroke. That was fucking horrible.
Be up with the kids from the butt crack of dawn, go through my day bar, and then I'd come over to your house and we'd do some stuff at like 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and now I'm doing the crack of dawn thing with kids now too, because the universe. They're really great kids. I got easy kids, so it's being a gentle asshole, but it's still an asshole.
Look at the bright side. We don't have to drive them all over the place, really, because
no. I was realizing that when the pandemic does clear up, when everyone realizes that it's either mask up or be stuck like this forever. 2 months of masking up, as opposed to continuing to have mass deaths because you can't get your heads out of your asses. It's that simple.
Yeah, well, not everybody in San Francisco is on that train, let me tell you. So I was
And San
driving around
Francisco is being held up as the model city.
you know what? There are a lot of people that are really doing well, but I saw a fair share of no maskers.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it just really depends on where you are. Like I was driving through the financial district, which is really empty.
Yeah.
And then where oh gosh, I was
I
going
haven't
where
even, yeah, I didn't even go to the financial district while I was there at all.
oh, it's dead. Well, actually, Montgomery Street, yes, Montgomery Street, at about 4:30 today seemed like a normal 4:30.
Oh, wow.
Not maybe a little late, but
Mhm.
it was still a pain in the ass because people are stupid. Let me park in the lane that's designed for the turning people. You know that's great. Never mind that you have to turn onto the other street,
Yeah, that's
or
just San Francisco city driving.
oh, I can go in the intersection. The light's gonna change.
Don't block the box, people. You aren't that fucking important. Someone will plow through you.
Pissed me off, let me tell you. And I didn't take my pills today, so I didn't scream at anybody. I didn't kill anybody. I contemplated getting out of the car when I was driving through Golden Gate Park, and I couldn't see their headlights. We know how well I like that.
Oh, yeah. You miss me. You usually felt better if we set fire to something.
Gosh, I miss those days. Though I did drive by the eucalyptus grove.
Oh, I miss that.
Yeah. It was a great day in the city today. It was beautiful. And I was actually looking around. There is, like, you definitely see people social distancing, like at the beach and at
Hmm.
the park. So I was like, gosh, you know what? I would feel okay bringing the kids to the park maybe on a weekday in the late
Yeah,
afternoon, evening. Like, I would feel okay doing that because people in the park were masked and they
yeah.
were social distancing. And I just realized we totally went off on another tangent.
Yes, which is what we do. So going back to the well, and I do miss the city, especially lately. You know, yeah, I miss my friends, and I'm wishing things had cleared up so I could start doing my actual bilocation part of the bilocation. But
Yeah.
you know, by the way, if anyone wants to buy a townhouse in Minneapolis, for the love of Christ, do. I have the house for you. It's only a little haunted, and I can fix that.
Right. Since you jumped onto that topic, I'm going to jump back for a minute. You mentioned working with Christine Rossi.
Yes.
If you haven't seen it on the site yet, Christine Rossi is a member of the team at Golden Apple now. She has some services listed. She's doing angel readings and consultations. She's doing intuitive consultations and some tarot reading.
And I have worked with her for years and gotten readings with her so it used to be fairly often when we worked in the same shop. And if you want to get a feel for her or even more of a feel for me, she and I did a YouTube show together called Psychic Witch Talk, which is up on YouTube. Yes. Especially when Leah Nicely would come in with the drunken poppets. So,
And you can find that on YouTube, or you can also find that on the Golden Apple website in our Witchy
yes.
Videos section. It has its own channel there. But Christine, yeah, is such a sweetheart.
Yeah.
We also have some of the mists that she makes with Heart to Heart Christine, which is
Mm-hmm.
her website, her brand. There are some wonderful aromatherapy mists, and I believe as part of one of her consultations or divinations, it comes with a mist towards your particular issue.
And again, I've used them and they're very effective.
Yeah,
So, like, I don't vouch for anything that doesn't work, and they work.
yeah, because nobody got any time for that. Okay, so back to our list.
We had talking points. Doesn't mean that we stay on track.
We did have talking points. So
If
we
it was a
talked
map,
about
we'd be
the
doomed.
fortune tellers, the San Francisco street scams
Yeah.
that don't just happen in San Francisco, the fortune telling license requirements, the so-called plastic shamans or plastic tent shamans. Now, this is something I haven't heard about.
So this is something where if my partner were here, they'd be going on quite the rant. So the term plastic shaman in the shamanic community has been around for a while, and it is people who kind of glom onto Native American traditions, call themselves a shaman, and basically misappropriate, treat native practices as if they are a monolith, when, American Indian practices, it's different by each tribe, nation, culture. Like, it's a whole bunch of completely different things. It's not even working with the same symbols or representations or the same plants even, because they did not live in the same part of the country.
Mm-hmm.
It is not all, something that is American Indian is not just one thing. And so it was usually white people claiming some sort of initiatory lore that they did not. And there is a lot of stuff around cultural appropriation that natives have spoken up on. And for the most part, I think it is quite reasonable that they have those objections and they should be listened to. And I will go into, I think there may be another time we talk about the nuances of cultural appropriation, because not everything that is viewed as appropriation is appropriated.
Fair.
But in this case, very much so.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to look up his name. But there was one person in particular, and I'm looking it up now. So if you're seeing my fingers like looming large on the screen, that is it.
We have a pinky and a ring finger.
Yep. Whee. Okay, that is not who. Okay, my partner had some inaccurate information, so I'm not going to go there. But someone will definitely remember this situation where there was a shaman, a so-called shaman, someone practiced core shamanism, which its legitimacy has been questioned because, again, shamanism itself is close to a cultural universal. Almost every culture had some kind of shamanic practice. That said, a lot of people glom on to the American Indian shamanic practices, and this guy did that. And as part of that, he decided to have a sweat lodge and fashioned a sweat lodge out of plastic sheeting.
Wow.
For those of you that are familiar with what white sage does to your body when you're locked in a room full of its smoke, you will understand why people died from this.
Okay, I don't know what it does when you're locked in a room with the smoke, but I know what it does when it's in a tea.
Okay, well, the problem was really the plastic sheeting and not the sage.
Mm-hmm.
So the plastic sheeting is basically not that porous. So what happens with the sweat lodge is you're supposed to sweat. It is a purging ceremony, which means smoke should be coming out of the lodge.
Mm-hmm.
The plastic sheeting prevented that from happening.
Well, and the plastic sheeting is going to raise the temperature even more.
It raised the temperature too high. It let off toxic fumes from the heat, and people died.
Wow.
And like the person that this happened with, this guy like was on Oprah and just all of this stuff. And yeah, it was just, and now it's become a thing where there's like a group of people in the community called plastic tent shamans, where they're charging, thousands of dollars for these retreats, but they don't really have the initiations or background. They don't really have the safety backgrounds. They're just messing around with things. They haven't gone and learned it. It's one of those reasons why I've been interested in doing the ayahuasca retreat for years, but I'm being very careful and like triple checking where these people know how to do it, who they are, how much Spanish I would need to learn to be able to go and do it. Mm-hmm. Especially since ayahuasca, you have to be pretty committed because it is not something you should be doing for fun.
Yeah.
And it is probably not something I could legally do in the United States. Not that I can go anywhere right now anyway, but it is still something I want to do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's, I'm trying to see, we have visitors all over the place. We have 3 people watching us right now. Sorry, I'm cutting in and out here. If you're on any of our podcasts, feel free to comment and say hi if you have any questions. Tonight, if you've just joined us, we are talking about spiritual fraud. So that's those naughty little Krampus, I hope gets you, practitioners that bilk people out of their hard-earned money, which makes the rest of us look like assholes.
So right. I do have a personal story, and I do not to this day know what actually happened. There was a guy that I was sort of friends with in college who lived with a woman who was running, and this is back before the internet was really a thing, but she was selling spells out of the back of National Enquirer.
Oh.
And like that was a thing that they do.
I feel like I've seen that.
Yeah, like it hasn't been in years because everyone's moved on Facebook and does the practice in an entirely different way. And some of those people were legit and some of them weren't. And I remember like being absolutely desperate after a horrible breakup with a guy in college and calling one lady. And I remember her like, I suspect she was actually quite real, but she was just blunt, like, how old are you, honey? It's like, I'm 20. She's like, do you even have $75? And it's just like, it was just not going to happen.
Yeah.
I couldn't get a credit card back then. I sure as hell wasn't going to be able to, like, $75 was basically food for the rest of the month for me. I was not going to be able to do it. And honestly, the guy left me for a dude anyway. It was just not going to work. But she was one of those women that was doing this out of like the back. And something came up where she got accused of like saying, okay, you need to buy this much more or I'm going to curse you. And this is something people will do, really unethical practitioners. And like, I think that you had a run-in with somebody who was like that with someone like the thing with the tiny pink candles for like hundreds of dollars or something.
People and these candles. It is melted crayon, people.
I think they may need a little more context, but
really, candles are so cheap and easy to make. I mean, it's definitely the effort you put in, which is accumulated into the cost. But really,
yeah.
If I try to charge someone $500 for a candle, please come to my house and slap me.
Well, remember you had a friend that went to Las Vegas and she got one of those fortune tellers going, "Oh, you're so cursed," and a shine candle for an obscene amount of money.
Who was that?
But is that you got in on it, and the psychic was that this person was legitimately psychic and just shady as hell. Decided to track you down somehow. I think you ate them and you've forgotten them because you'd adjusted them years ago.
Because I'm like, bitch, remember me, please.
Yeah, I remember that because you were kind of enjoying it. You're like, come at me.
Yeah, that's like Wheaties, man.
Yeah, for your crazy butt, definitely. So,
I am probably a lot nicer sometimes than I need to be. But
yeah,
the bitch button.
No,
because that's a role I don't mind playing.
I just lead with the cranky. Keeps my legs down. So.
But see, here's the thing. Always start with nice. If you start with nice, you can go to bitch. But if you start with bitch, going back to nice is really hard. It's so much harder.
And when I start with nice, more people expect me to talk to them, and then I make Minced Pee-Pee sad when I say no, and then it ends up having me having to be bitch anyway. So I just save myself the hassle.
Minced Pee-Pee all the way back. Penis. Penis. It's a short word. Hopefully it's not a short.
I am addressing the maturity level I've been dealing with. And anyway,
I think the next we should talk about pagan dating on our next episode.
And why I hate everyone, even though I'm basically dating 3 people that are pagan right now.
Oh dear.
Yeah, my curse is that I'm not ace. So anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, so the story about the story that we wanted off of is he was living with her and somehow he got implicated in the mail fraud that she got charged with because he was her roommate. I don't know the whole story. I suspect that he had to have participated in some way, whether it was like, maybe it was something stupid like he took the packages to the post office and that implicated him or something.
Or she used his name on some of the packages.
That's possible. Like and this is the problem, is the guy was just enough of an asshole with just enough contempt for the stupid that he might have knowingly participated just because he hated stupid people. But he did end up in jail. He did end up going to prison for that. And then he died while he was still in house arrest. Because I remember hearing the story where he just came back with the ankle bracelet, went to sleep, we sat down to sleep in his chair and just never came back. So I suppose I could ask him, but I'm never going to get any truth that's particularly verifiable about whether he did it or not.
Well, I guess at this point it's kind of a moot point, but and here's the thing. Yes, there are genuinely stupid people out there. There are people that are frightfully stupid, and I'm not going to say who they voted for, but we all know what I'm thinking. And but then there are people that are genuinely in distress, and sometimes that emotion makes us do incredibly desperate things. I remember when my first husband left, for like 2 weeks straight, I worked candle magic to bring him back. And it was this spell, and it was like a 7-day spell. And
Mm-hmm.
I worked it for 2 weeks straight trying to get him back, and nothing. Like, I don't think people realize that, they say that you're a fraud if the spells don't work, but sometimes our spells don't work because they're not supposed to. I wasn't
Yeah.
supposed to get back with him.
And it is not always possible to get results or get results in a time frame.
Mhm.
And like, I remember there's one lady where basically the universe was trying to get her to wake up and realize she was in an abusive relationship. So the spells would work, but they'd only work halfway.
Mhm.
He'd be attached to her, but then he'd still be off with his mistress. You know, he'd be generous with the kids, but he'd still cut off her allowance or whatever was going on with them.
Yeah, and in my situation, it was, how they say people come in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. He was in my
Mm-hmm.
life for a reason. He was supposed to transition me from one relationship to my current marriage now.
Yeah,
So, and I think that that was his whole point. But
yeah,
at the time, I didn't realize it, and I was so desperate to have him back. I was like, let's go to counseling, let's do this, let's do that. I had so many things that I was really striving for with this relationship and trying to get him back and make it work out, that I wasn't even thinking, hey, I'm doing this magic that might be manipulative.
yeah. And reconciliation work is actually extremely manipulative. So, and I've made that mistake myself.
Hmm.
And one of the ones that people come to me for is to undo the reconciliation work, because there are people in cultures where reuniting a married couple should be a good thing, and because they don't understand divorce is a social solution, not a social problem.
Hmm.
Without divorce, our murder rate would be much, much higher, for real.
Right.
And the history of Alabama is an example of this. Is they outlawed divorce for a while. Their murder rate shot up 300%, and they had to have so many bastard laws that they finally gave up and re-legalized it because they couldn't sort out who was supposed to get what, and they were really getting tired of the murder scenes.
Well, I mean, you probably wouldn't think it if you knew me, but I'm actually a huge fan of premarital counseling.
Yeah,
Because then you're really digging deep into the reasons why you want to be together, whether you go through your church, whether you go through a counselor, whether you talk with friends about it. Brad and I, before we got married, we didn't have a religious ceremony, but the person that was our officiant, we had homework. And he really wanted to make sure, like, why are we going into this, and were we going into it for the right reasons before we
yeah,
got married? And that was such a valuable tool, which I
yeah.
obviously didn't have in my first marriage.
So, and I have the personal opinion that signing a prenup is the best way you can show your partner that you trust them and that you intend to be comfortable with them. I actually think that refusing to sign a prenup is actually a huge warning sign. I remember having that discussion with my ex-boyfriend, and he went in this anxiety. It was like, okay, if we ever get married, and I was kind of thinking, I hope not, but if we ever get married, I want to have a prenup. And he went into this huge 3-day anxiety cycle about it. I'm like, this is telling me a lot about him, and none of it's good,
Yeah.
because he doesn't want to be in a situation where he's signing a paper and is held accountable.
And
If
people
you be
don't
held
realize.
accountable, you shouldn't be getting married.
Yeah, I mean, people don't realize it's something that does protect both parties.
Yeah, it does very
And I
much.
feel like myself and my first husband, we didn't have a pot to piss in, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah, yeah. Like with my first husband, we had nothing. With my first spouse, we didn't have much. With my second spouse, we built things, but we started with nothing.
Hmm.
It was basically I promise I won't be too much of a burden on health insurance, and that's the best I can promise.
Okay.
um, I'm sure she has opinions about that now, and she can have all of them she wants. I'm finally in a place to really be mad about how I got treated. So, um, and I know, like last year, I was doing a lot of love magic, and I was trying to do self-love magic, and I was just under so much stress, I just kind of went off the deep end for a while. I'm not going to pretend I didn't. And the tricky part is a lot of it did work, but then it would run into obstacles over and over.
Hmm.
And so it was meant to work, but it would work kind of halfway. And, this is part of the problem, and this is a problem thing that can come up with spells too, is especially when they involve other people, unless there's some part of themselves that's willing to do the work and be cooperative, it's not going to happen. my energy was right up there, right out and over the line, but this person was just one of those lazy ass wheeler and dealer types. And I don't normally go for bad boys. When people ask me to pick between Batman and Superman, I pick Clark Kent or occasionally his dad. So
Wait, which one's the bad boy?
neither.
Oh,
I
okay. I was
the
like,
bad boys. I've never liked the bad boys. I find them irritating and send them your way. Yeah.
I eat them for dessert.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say I'm a good girl type anymore, but that's where I started, and I kind of miss that part of myself sometimes.
I think that people severely underestimate the quote unquote nice guys. Like, and part of that I think is we're ingrained in childhood. Um, like okay, here's a perfect example. When you're a little girl and there's that boy that is pulling your hair or pushing you down on the ground, and people say, oh, he just probably does that because he likes you. So I don't know if
Yeah.
this is your experience, but it's something I've seen widespread throughout my life. And we see these things where people tell us, oh, he's mean to you, that's because he likes you. And then we wonder how many young women or young men get into abusive relationships.
A lot of them and a lot of those kids grow up to be people that belong in prison.
Well, but sometimes, but I mean, we really have to take a look at how we word things, or like when your child doesn't want to give someone a hug. Maybe they're shy, maybe they're not, but you're like, oh, come on, give auntie so and so a hug and a kiss. Give your auntie a hug and a kiss. We're taking away their
Their
control
choice.
over their choice over their own bodies, and these are the things that we didn't think about when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And it's definitely something now that I think about with my kids. And I really try to pay attention to that and pay attention to the behaviors that end up being can have the possibility to be truly negative behaviors in the future.
Yeah. And I've been through, because I've worked for a Battered Women's Advocacy, Battered Women's Shelter, where like nonviolent communication and child raising was part of our training. And it was giving people the right to consent or deny over their own bodies. And, there was the attitude that, boys don't hit you because they like you. They don't. That is not what is going on there. And it
Unless you're in the
basically,
kink community, because then it's got a whole different connotation.
and here's the thing is a lot of the people in the kink community are actually the nice guys because they get to learn how to be the freaks because they get to build the trust that lets people like me be willing to do the freaky shit.
I was going to segue right into that, because guess what? They are going to be the people that are conscious of your self-care, and
Yeah.
they're going to be the people that pay attention to your boundaries and your limits and where
Yeah.
your consent value lays. And
Genuine mutual respect is freaking hot.
and the thing is that these quote unquote nice guys, what is that thing they used to say about women? I want a lady in the living room or in the dining room, and a whore in the bedroom or whatever.
There's a lady in the streets and a freak in the sheets.
There you go. There you go. I knew it was something like that. But you know what? What's wrong with having a guy that, or a partner that treats you well, that cares about your emotional well-being, and then is going to do all the naughty stuff that you like too.
Because that's part of it.
Because I'm like, spank me, pull my hair, bite me, but let's go.
You're gonna get some fan mail now, aren't you?
I better get some fan mail. What's that site? Fans only.
Yeah, the OnlyFans site. Yeah. Oh yeah, I've had some people scandalized about that stuff, and I don't even have one.
Yeah, let me say I don't have one of those. I just I think it would be funny to get one of those, and then I'm just reading like Grimm's fairy tales. Once they pay
Well,
attention.
I should just like get one of those and then just read the horrible things men say to me on dating sites.
We're
And,
saving those for next
this is why you
episode.
can't get laid, and then just read the shit they're saying to me.
Oh God, let me tell you. And then don't mention the word polyamory.
Oh no, I cannot believe what people think polyamory is. It's kind of horrifying out here. Like they automatically assume it's all group sex or swinging. Swinging is basically just monogamy with spouse swapping.
Yeah.
It's usually highly performative.
Well, out here in the Bay Area, well, I don't know if it's it's obviously not just the Bay Area, but definitely in this area, there are definite definitions of polyamory out here, and they're very well thought out. And everyone has their own little slice of the polyamory pie. But
Yeah.
when you go other places, it's very, very different.
There's a lot of what the fuck out here in the Midwest. Like, even Minneapolis had a fairly well educated polyamory community, but Michigan is awful. I don't know what the hell these people are doing, but like having to like lay it out that I am perfectly willing to die alone rather than put up with some of the shit these people are doing.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
And they are not getting that. I'm really not afraid to do that.
We will transplant you some cute boys, girls,
Uh-huh.
whoever.
Although there's a cute boy or two, but we're going really slow because they're bi and subjected to the stupid along with me.
Hey, there's something to be said for going slow and building that fire stick by
Yeah.
stick.
Well, it's building the trust. And a lot of these people on dating sites, because it's hookup culture, like they're offended by the idea of any accountability or building trust.
Oh,
And
even the whole
if people are offended by having to demonstrate they are trustworthy or by building trust, you got a problem.
or there's the people that you're like, I'm not comfortable meeting people right now because of COVID. Okay, so when do you want to meet for coffee?
Or they have a tantrum about there's one guy where I'm pretty sure that the reason he cut it off was not because he didn't want to do poly, but because he didn't want to do COVID careful.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, you're sending your kids to in-person school, you're letting them have sleepovers, there's no fucking way they're masking the whole time, and you're willing to play with my health, my kids' health, my partner's health for what? So you might get something off?
Yeah. People
Yeah.
I don't understand people's thought processes. And I
And he's Christian. He's Christian, and he's one of those, well, you just need to have faith in other people. I'm like, no, I don't. I need to have, a partner I can trust, and that is not you.
Yeah, let's be honest. I'm pretty much immune to everything.
Yeah.
And I'm still excessively cautious. Not for me,
Yeah.
but for other people.
Yeah. Like, there is a chance we have not been able to find a place to get me the antibody testing.
Mm-hmm.
Very well could have had it last Thanksgiving, because I did lose my sense of smell and taste for a little while.
Yeah,
And
you
remember how sick I was back then.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and I was pushing myself through shit I should not have been pushing myself through, and I was having trouble breathing, and it was pretty bad. Like, it was taking like two sin eaters and my shitty ex to basically keep me functioning. And we were doing some pretty extreme stuff anyway on top of that, but
yeah,
there is a chance I may have had it that early because we were right. People from China came in through San Francisco and probably didn't know that they had it, and like patient one, I think not patient 0, but patient 1 basically got diagnosed and then immediately went to a fucking buffet.
Well, and working in the bar industry, the bar and restaurant industry, we tend to see things a few months before everyone else. So and there were a ton of people sick at that time. People on staff got sick. Some of our customers got sick, and we have a lot of tourists that come through. So it went. I'm sure it went through the bar. And again, what did I have? I had allergies. To be quite honest, never lost any senses. Just my voice was about an octave lower for about 2 months.
I remember that. Yeah. And like for me, it was, I spent time in that bar. Like hell, I was going through photos I took of myself when I'm like, okay, all of my lovers have left me. I'm going to go hang out at the bar, which was oddly happier than when they were around. But
happy place.
Yeah, usually after you get enough martinis in you, you're going to be happy.
Depending on who your bartender is.
And happy when you wake up somewhere.
But yeah, so it's just, it's people like to play Russian roulette with their health, and I'm just not willing to do that.
And it is fine if they want to play Russian roulette with their health, but they're doing it with mine. They're doing it with my kids. And that's where I draw the goddamn line. If they want to fuck themselves up, I'll hand you some dynamite. Just, get away from my house.
We keep saying we're going to save this for the next episode, and then we go off on a tangent again. You know what? That ties in spiritual fraud, dating fraud, because they're trying to portray a caring, sensitive human being, and they're not.
Well, think about the guy that I got so hung up on last year.
Mm-hmm.
Pure con artist bullshit.
Yeah.
You know.
But now we're going to jump to the con artists that take your money, not your love.
Mm-hmm. Well, honestly, I think he was hoping to take my money sooner or later.
Fair.
Yeah.
Anybody that's watching out there, we welcome questions. Just type them right into comments. They'll pop up on our screens. And
Or if you have horror stories of your own to share, spiritual fraud stories, particularly horrendous dating stories to make me feel better about my love life. Because even I'm poly and my love life still manages to suck. So
okay, it doesn't equate better love lives. It just means you have to have better communication and scheduling skills.
and honestly, my curse is that I'm not ace. Because being a hermit is so much preferable.
All right. I think it's almost time for more whiskey.
Very probably.
I ran out of Red Bull, so I have to go back to Coke Zero.
Aw, that's not quite as good.
It's not quite as good, but the whiskey gets ingested. That's all that really matters. Um, and I think that I don't know if Jennifer's still on, but I'm putting her laughy face on there because I thought that was funny.
There we go.
So let's see the next on our little checklist here. Yeah, so this guy literally this so-called shaman literally killed people with this sweat ceremony, which is the last thing that we were talking about.
Yeah.
The next thing on our list is you were talking about a TV show on Hulu, Shut Eye, about a family of fraudsters.
Yeah. So Shut Eye was about this. It was about, like, on the show, it identified them as gypsy families and part of the so-called gypsy mob.
Grr.
Yeah, where it was like a series of families that were part of like the local tribal unit, or I don't know what they call that now. And, everyone who did any kind of fortune telling work, they had to be part of that and pay into the pool.
Mm-hmm.
And like it was basically all about the scams that they ran.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, are you enjoying some of my whiskey?
I have like 3 bottles of whiskey in my liquor cabinet. I have, and three of them are Jameson Black Barrel, and one of
Yeah, well,
them.
you inherited a couple of them from me, so
Well, I had one. I inherited the rest of one from you. Then my
yeah,
friend that I was helping out with their issue bought me another full one, and then my daughter
nice.
and son-in-law brought me Jamie Caskmates.
Yeah, so it's not so much that Nikki works for free; she works for booze.
Well, okay, so I might not charge you because I find it very, very hard to do that, but I will never say no to whiskey.
Yeah, we're working on that.
While you're telling about this show, I'm going to keep listening, but I'm also going to be getting my mixer for my whiskey. I'll be right back.
Okay. So in the meantime, I'm not sure what horror stories I can think of, but there is a show on Hulu called Shut Eye that it has lead by Michael Donovan. So he was the guy that was leading Burn Notice for people that particularly like that show. And it was basically all about these scams and the gypsy culture at the time. And meanwhile, this particular character had a head injury and was starting to have authentic psychic visions. And so, like, by the end, it was just this really complicated ride as they went through him being a fraud while legitimate things were happening to him. And, like, I don't know, like, there's a math term for this. I want to say parabola, but like it was just like this, he starts turning into a completely the opposite direction from his family and his culture.
That can happen.
And this is the tricky part: is there are people who choose to commit fraud who are legitimately psychic.
Mm-hmm.
They just use it to find marks instead of using it to help people. So, all right, I need to find water, which
Okay,
I
you
have
go
a
get water. I'm
more
going to
down
talk
here.
about. Well, we'll talk about some fraud stuff. Yeah, the thing is that yes, there are people that are legitimately talented,
Yeah,
and sometimes it is harder to find. It is easier to find marks, obviously, for them, but we're hoping. I don't know where I was going with that thought. I'm going to be honest. I was just trying to
yeah,
fly off the handle with something, and it didn't work.
yeah,
Um, More whiskey. That's the ticket.
yeah.
It is hard seeing people that are frauds out there, because people that are genuinely out there using their skills to help people,
Mm-hmm.
it takes away that level of professionalism from us. And it doesn't matter how professional you are or how good you are. All it takes is one person to create a bad experience
Yeah.
to completely take that away. And even if you want to genuinely help people, there's always that measure that you're working against.
Yeah. And I mean, there's this thing, people go with their prior experiences. If the first experience with the psychic was one who was a fraud, they're going to come in with the attitude that all psychics are frauds.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be coming with the prove it to me. And, I do not think that seeing a psychic is necessary for every person or even good for most people. But it means there are people who cannot be helped with their problems in other ways who are going to be driven away from it. There are certain things that you can pretty much only take to a working psychic or shaman. Like if you have an entity attachment, a doctor is not going to fix that with any pills. If you've gone through all the medical stuff and it's still there and you will feel it on you,
Yeah.
you need someone legit to help you remove it.
And that's the thing. Sometimes you just don't know. I mean, honestly, the energy that I work with and the way that I help people, like, what did we say? It was just in the last year that I didn't wake up every day thinking I should be in the funny farm.
You've been
And
pretty that way since you met me, though.
really, really, I have. And it's something that takes a lot. It takes a lot on faith.
Yeah,
And if you feel like you have an entity attachment or something going on with you, and you try to go through all the medical channels and that's not working, you feel hopeless. You feel like, what am I going to do? How am I going to fix this? And then you go to someone that initially seems like the best person. You don't know it, but they're reading you cold, and you're giving them
mm-hmm.
certain clues. And
Mm-hmm.
then all of a sudden they're like, yes, I can help you. And
Mm-hmm.
then, they go through this, you give them your money, and they go through this elaborate thing with you, and it doesn't work. And you still feel the same. And then it's, oh gosh, it was so much bigger than I thought. It's going to take this next step. And of course, that's going to take more money. And,
Yeah,
and it builds and builds and builds until, you either get tired of paying them, or, you drain your life savings away, which is legitimately happened to people. And then your problem still isn't solved, and you feel hopeless. And then,
yeah,
that hopelessness gets to the next level and the next level and the next level.
yeah. And I think, is there anything else that we had to go over in our talking points, or
We were talking about, how do you know when people are legit?
yeah. And so also I'm going to post it in the comments here. So, or for you to repost and I found something on Psychic Scam from the USPS for people to look at if they want to kind of look over things that people are taught to look for.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, there is the general attitude that anything involving the psychic is a scam. Obviously, given what I do for a living, I am inclined to beg to differ, but that does mean it is a take it with a grain of salt kind of thing.
Okay,
But
copy and paste.
when people are legit, and here's the thing, because it can be a situation where stuff doesn't work depending on what's going on, especially that can happen with inexperienced practitioners who bite off more than they can chew. But they're also not going to try to charge more. Most of them undercharge to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Frequently, they don't. Frequently, a legit one will not charge more than market rate for their area. So, like, market rate for the San Francisco Bay before I left was $120 an hour.
Wow.
My rate was $110, and that was considered reasonable, especially for someone who's read for over 20 years like I have.
Mm-hmm.
But now, like out here, the first thing I did, especially since I'm reading out of Elements Kalamazoo starting in November and actually starting Halloween night, Halloween afternoon, is it's going to be $60 an hour, because that's what people can afford here. I'm not looking to be beyond what people can afford ever. In California, in San Francisco, there was a bunch of tech workers who also like to see psychics.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of tech and financial workers that would come to see me, or people that own their own business that were fairly successful. Out here, it's a lot of people in blue collar industrial jobs. A living wage is $14 an hour. It's an extremely different situation.
Okay, I'm gonna pause you for just 1 second. On this link, is it USPS?
Yeah, it's USPS.
Okay. So if you're looking on the Golden Apple Metaphysical Facebook or the YouTube for Golden Apple, it should be USPS, not USPIS. Sorry about that. I will update that in the comments. I just caught
So if it
that.
says USPIS, let me double check the link. No, it says USPIS on the website.
Okay, because I want to double check
Postmaster's
that.
office, maybe?
Maybe. Let me copy that. I'm going to copy that and put it in my browser and just make sure it is a viable link.
Yeah.
Do 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 do. And United States Postal Inspection Service. So the link is correct, my darlings. The link is correct.
Yay. So what I usually tell people is the gist is that any good reader is not going to tell you anything you don't already know. Especially not at first. Like there won't be anything super secret that comes out of the blue. There won't be any Aunt Bertha said stop drinking out of her cup, especially not at first. And there will be some tuning in, and they may ask for clarifying questions. They're not going to pretend they know everything. So they're not going to those are mentalist tricks. Those are cold reading tricks. Do not fall for them. So it's reasonable pricing. They tell you what you need to know. They don't tell you anything you don't already know, and they don't tell you what you want to hear. That now, granted, I'm working on my bedside manner because I can be like a human steamroller, and I apologize forever, but
Can be.
yeah, yeah. I honestly, and the sad part is that when this happens, I frequently have gone through several other things in my head that were entirely too blunt to say out loud. So I actually went with the one that I thought was the nicest way to say it, which makes it especially sad. um,
The gentle thing.
yeah, like I'm working on it, but I've learned that apparently starting with "this is bad news" actually helps people brace. So sad but true. Um, but they're not going to tell. They're going to tell you what you need to know, not what you want to hear. And I know that there are some legitimate psychics who pretty much may just do the "you need to love yourself more" and stop there. I'm a busybody, so I'm like, okay, you need to love yourself more. Let's talk about what you do for self-love. And, the point is that they're not looking to get you back in front of them anytime soon. They may want to see you again, but like I had one client going, so how often should I come back? And I'm like, well, honey, this isn't like a doctor's checkup. It's come back when you need to talk to me. And he's like, no. I'm like, okay, well, then check in with me every 6 weeks. And every 6 weeks is about right for people having different stuff in their lives. If that's, if getting professional divination is your personal self-care, okay, every 6 weeks is about good. But understand it is self-care and it is some spiritual guidance, but ultimately it is about a good reader or counselor or coach of any kind wants you to be independent.
Mm-hmm.
And there won't be huge escalating costs. There may be large upfront costs depending what you're doing. So if there's soul retrieval, anything that involves awakened retreat of any kind, anything that involves multi-hours of ritual work or preparation, yeah, that's going to cost more. But for the basic stuff, the vast majority of the time, unless you've got something pretty extreme going on, and yeah, I do take extreme cases, it's just there's not really going to be a reason to come back all the time. And as I've pointed out more than once, there is no such thing in the world as an emergency tarot reading.
Yeah.
Ever. Like if there is no contextual way to answer that with "are you bleeding," it doesn't exist as an emergency. So
I'm sorry, I just had like 10 really stupid comments run through my head. Like they're not even worth repeating because they're so dumb. But I was,
I'm glad you can entertain yourself.
oh, I constantly entertain myself. I amuse the shit out of myself. But back to rounding about, go with your gut. Like I
Yeah.
said, if something feels wrong, there's a reason why you feel that way. And it could be something as simple as the methods that your practitioner is using. don't vibe with where you are in your life, with where you are spiritually, or with what you need spiritually.
Yeah.
Um,
I
you
think
know,
it also helps to know what kind of stuff would take more sessions or might take more time. Obviously, entity attachment or violent entity removal may take more time or be more expensive because of risk. Um, Things where you're getting one-on-one psychic training will take more time and will require repeat sessions as you build things up. So the empath trainings I do, I'm working on a program. So like I did my first corporate empath training this evening, and it's energy work and it takes a lot out of me. And so that is one where it's better to get the group rate anyway. But that one usually takes some repeat stuff as you learn how to switch things off and on and focus on purpose and manage the pressures on you. If it is something where you're learning how to deal with spirit guides or past life stuff, those are things that frequently take repeat sessions. If you are doing, if you're getting city priestess training, that's going to take repeat sessions, especially because that can be dangerous work. And you're going to have to learn how to be both a scholar and a little bit of a warrior and a little bit of a scholar and a little bit of a warrior magus in between there, and a healer and a spirit healer too. So it's just that takes more sessions, but it's different stuff you're being taught to do. So you don't just have to come to me to do it over and over.
I think anything that is on an education basis
Yeah.
is gonna take more sessions. It's gonna take more time because I'm sorry, you can't meet with someone for an hour and learn everything you need to know about life. That
You
doesn't
really
happen
can.
anywhere.
Yeah, you
Um,
really can.
but if you want to know if the person that you're with is going to marry you, that's pretty much a yes or no question.
Yeah.
That shouldn't take 17 sessions at $100 a pop.
No, that should take maybe 2 readings in the same session. And if it is more complicated than yes or no, you might want to talk to a therapist and not me.
you know and here's a quick thing to help you out. If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. That should be your mantra in life. I think if more people did that, we'd have
Basically what works for her. So yeah.
well, come on, if you're not excited about something, like ask yourself why you're marrying that person if they're wavering about marrying you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's very simplistic mantra or life quote plan whatever, but it really is like if you're going for a job and you're not excited about being there every day and that job is not a hell yes, why are you going for that job?
Yeah. Well, and some people do have to weigh the benefits there, like, who pays rent?
Yes, but it can still be something you're excited about. And if it's a way station kind of thing, that's one thing. But if you
Yeah.
can have a legitimate reasons, like we have to
Yeah.
stop letting emotion. Well, I guess my whole thing is kind of based on emotion, but these emotional reasons. Oh, well, he doesn't know if he wants to marry me or not. Why are you still with him? Oh, because I love him. If he is not hell yesing, or if they are not hell yesing,
Hmm.
there's a reason behind it.
Well, and marriage needs a hell of a lot more than love to work.
And I just think just using that to ask yourself, even if it's not the guideline that you go by, asking
Hmm.
yourself, I think will clear up a lot and maybe help narrow down what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because I'm lazy and I don't have time to go through obsession, though I do waste so much time obsessing over things that I have no control over. We all do.
Mm.
But your psychic shouldn't be one of them.
No. No,
um,
people that you pretty much don't think about until you need us.
Yeah. One thing I will say is there are times in our practice where you have started something and you need to bring another practitioner on board. And I
Yeah.
have to do it too, whether it be that your particular brand of magic is not a good fit for the person or the situation,
Hmm.
you know, and sometimes that will change the cost.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's we have to work in conjunction with each other.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a referral, sometimes it's a team project. Like we had that one person who basically needed a team project that like had sin eating and Reiki and guided meditation, and
Yeah.
it was like a whole thing.
Yeah, it was the three of us working on it.
Yeah.
And that did change things. That changes things, but you have to do it within a grain of salt. Having three people work on you, even if they have to sacrifice two goats, should not be $10,000.
Yeah, although goats are pretty expensive, but not that expensive.
Goats are expensive, but you know what? If I have to pay $10,000 for a damn goat, it better shit a solid gold brick.
I think the market rate for goats is 750 a piece. I haven't really priced goats lately, and Cindy says I can't have one.
Well, are you using it for a practice, or are you just using it to clean up the lawn? Because then it pays for itself.
The lawn, and it's cute. I think goats are cute.
Goats are cute.
But apparently there's a no barnyard animals law or something in city limits because
So say it's a small dog.
it's a small, especially ugly dog.
They
That's
have
clearly,
some ugly dogs
you know,
in
I
San
practice
Francisco.
witchcraft. Shit happens around me.
I'm just saying, there's some ugly ass dogs in San Francisco.
But people love their dogs.
People love their dogs. It's not my dog. I mean, I think my dog's cute, but she's an asshole.
Well, part of the family.
Yeah, she fits in with us. Let's see, what else are we going on there? I gotta switch around my chair for comfort here. There we go. Um, what else? Just be aware, wary of red flags.
Yeah. And I think we've kind of gone over it as much as we can without like a huge 60 minutes type episode.
Yeah, yeah, we didn't do enough research for that.
No, I did not have enough time to do the
You know
research.
what? Just go with your gut. If you have somebody that you vibe well with,
Yeah.
talk with them. Um,
Yeah. One of the better ways to get a feel for people is I do recommend going out of metaphysical shops where the people are reasonably screened.
mhm.
Psychic fairs are pretty good. There are certain expos where you have to be kind of wary, like when it's the big, expensive New Age expos, you have to really pick and choose. Just because these are basically trade shows. These are the people that can get away with charging 500 a reading and this kind of thing.
Mhm.
So be wary. The New Age label can especially be, because spirituality is an industry now. It just is. I mean, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't. And at some levels of the industry, it can be very hard to tell, like, what is a ripoff and what is just a practice that is kind of out there that you should go back and research. I would suggest if you're not familiar with the practice, do a little bit more than Google the practice because Googling does not always render accurate results. So start with Google, but find a deep dive any way you can onto whatever academic or library site you can and get to know it so you can get a sense for whether or not what they're talking about is legitimate or founded in the proper training or initiatory background.
And another good thing to do is check with your Better Business Bureau and see if these people have gotten complaints.
Yeah.
It might not be entire. If there's one there, then it's hit or miss. But if this one person has 10 complaints on them, that's probably not someone that you want to go see.
So you can do similarly with Yelp, although Yelp is sometimes highly problematic.
Yelp is hard because it's so easy to go on there and just make a complaint, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's vastly over. Oh gosh, my words bad today. Fire bad, tree pretty. They're over exaggerated.
Yeah.
Um, but if somebody's going to go to the Better Business Bureau and file a complaint, that's a lot of work that they have to do. So
Yeah.
they're 9 times out of 10 are pretty legit.
Yeah. All right.
Um,
I'm thinking this is what we got for today, which I
yeah,
mean, even with the segues, I think we got some good time in and people hung out, so thank you.
yeah. We
Um,
do have just to plug the shop because I have to do that every show.
yes.
Um, we do have services listed on there. We have several different practitioners. Diana does divination. She also does spirit coaching, counseling. We have Christine Rossi, who we mentioned earlier in the cast. She does angelic readings and consultations, as well as some tarot and intuitive work.
Mhm.
We have JL Martinez, Jennifer, who does Reiki healing and personalized yoga sessions. I'm in there with Cinti, as well as the rest of the team doing amorphous problem solving.
Yes. And
And
for amorphous metaphysical problem solving. So if you have a weird problem, you bring it in and one of us can figure it out.
Yeah, our weird shitometers are pretty high. So,
Oh,
if you
yes.
think you're crazy, you know what? Run it by us. Chances are you're not crazy. This is something real that's happening to you, and we've dealt with something like that. Also, I'm going to put a plug in for if you check out our workshop and event page, Diana has another workshop coming up this week.
I do. On Thursday, I am teaching graveyard and cemetery magic from 6 to 7:30 at Wicked Grounds. So it is a Zoom class. You can take it from anywhere from the comfort of your own home. And it is talking about rituals and practices for working magic in a graveyard and building relationships with the spirits that dwell there. And on Saturday from 2 to 6, for those in the Michigan area that might have tuned in who are up late, because, hi, you probably need more sleep than I do. So from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m., both Cinti and I will be there. Cinti will be doing shadow work consultations, so you can come and sit with them and talk about some of the darker recurring issues that you may be experiencing. And I will be doing generalized divination. And because of the way things work, it could be anything from just a simple tarot reading to a cut and clear to an on-the-spot binding. These are all things that I may end up doing in the course of a 15-minute session.
Lastly, not immediately following, but following very soon after Diana's Thursday Zoom meeting, we have a Zoom meeting for the Emperor Norton Magical Folk of San Francisco Pagan Social. So that's an open meeting. It's open to the public. You can find information about all of these things on the Golden Apple Facebook page or in the on the Golden Apple website, which the link is posted on the bottom here. But if you go to our Facebook page, then you'll probably find more information than you need about us.
Yes, and it's very much an all walks group, and you are quite welcome.
Yeah, definitely. Just what's the rule? Don't be a dick.
Or I like be excellent to each other, but if you can't do that, at least don't be a dick.
Yeah. That's it for tonight. I've been Nikki Jobin.
I'm Diana Rachel.
All right, everybody, have a good night. Be safe, be excellent to each other, or at least don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
We'll see you next time.